Good morning, everyone. I see lots of people are joining. So we're going to give just a couple minutes to get everybody into Zoom, and then we'll get started. We've got lots of people signing on. Got a big group today, so we're going to wait just a couple minutes before we get started.
All right, Amy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I can't see you, so this is interesting.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. So just so you all don't feel slighted on this one or feel like you're one in a million, I'm also having computer issues right before a presentation. So doesn't that just make everybody feel great? Technology is one of those things that are great when it works and very annoying when it doesn't work. Hey, I can see you now. I figured out how to make it so I can see.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. All right. We got some numbers here.
We do. Got a lot of people.
Pushing the 20 people mark, and it's creeping up too. So it is 11 a.m. We promised to start at 11. We want to give it just another minute to make sure people aren't having the same issue I'm having. And I'm glad we just said that because we just had a couple more come in.
Yep.
Okay. Amy, does my hair look okay?
Your hair looks great.
For all of you participants, just so you know, my hair jokes are just, they're plentiful. So everybody knows. And honestly, the only reason that I care about not having hair is I don't want to put sunblock on all summer. Why does sunblock make you hotter? Clogs your pores? Is that what it is, Amy?
We'll go with that.
Okay. All right. 11:01. Shall we begin?
We shall. So
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure all of you are grateful that we are doing this virtually instead of in person. And we are as well. With the weather that we're having, it's much better that we can do this and have you all safely and warmly, hopefully at home with a warm beverage in your hand. So my name is Amy Vanderploeg. I am the Director of Sales for Porter Hills Village and Cook Valley Estates and our Avenues program, which is a home-based program. And our presentation today is the first in a series of 3 sessions. So what I want you to know is that these 3 sessions are meant to all be kind of taken together because each session is going to build on the one before. And what that means for you is that today we are not trying to cover absolutely everything about moving to Porter Hills Village or to any life plan community. Today we're really focusing on the why. Why would you even consider moving to a retirement community? So in the next upcoming sessions, we'll be covering other aspects of this. So please know that. But we do encourage you to type in questions. So if you see on your screen, there should be a Q&A icon, which you can click on anytime during the presentation and type in your question. And Riley is our sales assistant. Probably most of you have talked with her. She's in the background and she'll be monitoring those questions and we'll feed those to James and I. And most of them we will likely answer at the end of this session, but don't be shy. You can type them in anytime. They don't go away. They will stay there. All of you as participants are muted, so you can't talk to us, but you can type questions in the Q&A. And this session is being recorded. So what we do after every session is we email you the recording, just so you can watch it again, or if you have family members that you want to have them watch it, that works out well. So before I hand it over to James, I just want to remind you of the next 2 sessions after this one. So the next one is on February 12th. It's at 2 p.m. And that session is going to focus on the costs, all of the costs involved with moving to a life plan community, including how much it costs to, for entrance fees and things like that, as well as what does it actually cost to move. On February 27 at 10 a.m., that's the last in the series. There, we're going to go in depth on the various levels of care that are part of the continuum and what those costs are. So again, these are really meant to be taken all 3, and the majority of you have already signed up for all 3. So thank you for that. And now I will turn it over to James.
All right. Hello, everybody. So something I want to start with is in the Q&A, I want to know how many people that this is the first presentation that you've been to for Porter Hills Village. I'm curious to see how many people are new and how many aren't. So that would be a good test for us to ask a question. So my name is James Kelly. My title is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Brio Living Services. I've been in senior living. That's what we call the retirement community business. We call it senior living. They try to come up with some new and interesting terms about it, but honestly, none of them really seem to stick. And I feel like a term for an industry is kind of like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not funny. So we try to come up with a name of what it is. But one of the things that I want to share with you is after being in this business for so many years, and I was a consultant working with hundreds of retirement communities across the country, I've helped move in, oh geez, Amy, I can't even begin to imagine how many people we have helped move in retirement communities. I mean, it's got to be in the thousands, thousands and thousands at this point. And so my goal in my life is to get people to understand a little bit more about retirement communities. I want people to realize that they're not so scary, and educate people about what it means. So what that also means in my life is whether you move to our community or you move to someone else's community, I actually don't care. It's nice if you move in with us because then we get to know you, and it really is a family environment. But truthfully, as long as you're making a decision to do something with your life, and helping people age well is the term that's used. And that could be you stay in your house and you're just more prepared for what it's like to live out your years in your house or whatever it may be. We just want to help. And so we want you to look at this presentation as a desire to help people, help seniors, and not necessarily try to sell ourselves. So this is not as what's the word there, Amy? Self-selling? I don't know. As you might think. So, all right. Riley, you ready to go to the next slide?
Oh, no, I'm doing it.
You're doing next slide. Okay. All right.
No, you're doing it. I'm clicking.
Oh, on this slide. Good Lord. Okay. So that's funny. So here you go. This is like improv at its finest, right? All right. So Porter Hills Village is located on East Fulton and actually right at 96 there, where there's a new entrance to 96, which is really nice because it's a great location and it's easy to get on and get off. But to tell you a little bit about us, we were started by the Westminster Presbyterian Church a little over 50 years ago now. And it was started because I think the church wanted to get involved with retirees and helping people retire and age well and figuring out how to do that. It is a not-for-profit organization. Many people ask, what does a not-for-profit organization really mean? Well, there are for-profit retirement communities where basically they are owned by a person or a group of people. And at the end of the day, they're looking to, yes, help people, but at the same time, they're looking to make a living off of it, to earn money. A not-for-profit organization in senior living in our business basically means that, do we make a profit? Yes, we make a profit. Sister Mary Margaret, when I first started my career, told me there is no profit, there is no mission without margin. And so you have to have a margin. And so what that really means is that if we do make money, it stays within the organization. It goes back into the organization. It doesn't go to shareholders or whatever it may be. It stays within the organization, which is a phenomenal mission, in my opinion. Porter Hills Village offers the full continuum of care, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but it really means that if you choose to live at Porter Hills Village or another continuing care retirement community, you don't ever have to leave. Assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, all on the same campus. So it helps with couples that one spouse needs care, the other doesn't, those types of things. We're going to get more into that. We have 9 communities in West Michigan. So here's the history of it. Porter Hills, which many of you that are listening, and I'd be curious on that one too, if you want to say, yes, I've heard of Porter Hills before. A lot of people have heard of it. It enjoys a phenomenal reputation, and people know it by name, that for giving care to West Side seniors and around the Grand Rapids area. About, was it 4 years ago now, Amy? I think it's 5 this March. Yep. 5 years in March, we came together. And by we, what I mean is Porter Hills, affiliated with United Methodist Retirement Communities on the east side of the state. Both organizations were about the same size, very similar mission. And basically what happened is they said, hey, we actually have some economies of scale if we came together. And so the 2 organizations combined. And it'll be 5 years this March. And because Porter Hills and United Methodist Retirement Communities is too much to say at one time, we actually changed the name to BRIO. And then there's another quick story about BRIO. BRIO is a synonym for life or vivacity, living your life with vivacity. So using a sentence as Amy lives her best BRIO. And it's interesting, you heard me say earlier about senior living, right? Used as a term. It is called BRIO Living Services because as a not-for-profit organization, we believe that we are just as trusted and stewards of taking care of seniors and our residents as we are to take care of our team members. That's what we call our employees. And so I'm an employee, Amy's an employee, Riley's an employee that's on here. And in a not-for-profit organization, especially like ours, we pay our staff better. We have better staff longevity. We typically have better benefits. We typically have longer longevity of our team members. It is not unusual for someone to work at a not-for-profit senior living organization for 10, 20, 30 years. I'm going on 8 at this point. Amy, I think you're 7. We are youngsters in the grand scheme of this. So that's kind of who we are as an organization. And what that means to you is that each decision is made at each campus. That's why it's called Porter Hills Village, a BRIO living community. And it's not called BRIO Living Services at Porter Hills, because that's not how we operate. Each campus makes their decisions at each campus. And that's very important to the people that live there and the people that work there too, that it's not, hey, corporate told us to do this. We don't do anything like that. And so I think that's an important story to tell.
Thank you. And so the campus that we're really focusing on today and through this series is the Porter Hills Village campus. So what you're seeing on the screen is our site map, and you can see our entrance coming off from Fulton Street. And so the first thing you notice on the right-hand side of the drive, we have what are called townhomes. These are independent living duplexes. And if you follow those squares around, you see ravines. That is the brand new independent living building that is currently under construction with 26 new independent living apartments. Some of you have been to presentations that totally focused on the ravines. That's not our focus today, but just to say that that building, those 26 apartments, are going to be completed this spring, and over half of them are reserved. And so we're starting to schedule the move-ins of those residents later this spring. So that's very exciting. The rest of what you're seeing in this off from the Circle Drive, right in the middle, is the main entrance. And that's the oldest part of our community, called the Village Center. And the Village Center, which opened in 1970, houses more independent living, a rental option called enhanced independent living for residents that need just a little bit more support, not quite ready for assisted living yet. But in that portion of the building, we also have assisted living apartments, we have memory care apartments, and then our health center, the light brown there, is our skilled nursing. If you move to the left side of the map, what you see are our garden apartments. Those are the majority of our independent living apartments, Garden Apartments West and Garden Apartments East. And also in that area is our wellness center, indoor swimming pool, fitness center, also our brand new Fairway Grill restaurant. All of that is down on that end of the campus. So you can see this is a very large campus, and it offers the full continuum of care. And we will get into that a little bit more, but this is what we will be talking about today. And so, as I said at the beginning, this first session that we're doing today is really talking about why you would make the move in the first place. So James, take it away.
Yep. So we thought that in the essence or the spirit of trying to give you information about the communities and not trying to be self-serving, we thought we would try to talk to you a little bit about why people make the decision to move. And the images that you see here are very reminiscent of what you probably think why people move. And in some cases, it's true. And some people say, you know, James, what's the right age? It depends. How much money do you need? Well, it depends. When should I move? Well, it depends. Everybody is different. And so the reason that someone wants to do this is going to be different for every single person. And so the lawnmower reminds me of a story, Amy, that I moved a gentleman into a retirement community in New York. And he came to us and said, you know, I think it's time to move in. And I said, oh, okay. And he was not that old. He was probably in his late 70s, early 80s. Let's call him 80, I guess. And he said, I said, you know, well, what's the impetus to this? Like, what's making you decide to do this? And he said, well, you know, the lawn tractor died and I had to go get a new lawn tractor. And I went out to go look at new lawn tractors because I haven't bought one in 40 years. And I realized that these things are like $3,000. And he said, I'm about to spend $3,000 on something that I don't even like doing. Why am I doing this? So for that person, it was the death of the lawn tractor is what made him want to move to the retirement community. Some people it is shoveling snow. Some people it is home repairs. Or stairs into the basement or whatever it may be. A lot of these are the reasons why people move. But I guess what's interesting is people say to us all the time, I don't need that yet. And we say, need that? What do you mean by need that? Well, I can still cook. I can still clean. I can still drive. All those types of things. And we realize that you can do all those. And that's great. And that will help you live a better life in the retirement community because you get to take advantage of all the fun social things. But most people, if you wait until you can't drive or can't cook or can't, do home chores or whatever it is, you may actually need to move into assisted living, which means that you need help. And some people, that's what in their mindset is like, yeah, well, I leave the house I live in and I live there until I need help. And then, but the problem is help means typically assisted living. And so we want to make sure that we are very clear about there's a difference between a need and a want. And so the things that you see here, if you can't do those, yeah, you need to move to a retirement community, but it's probably not an independent living.
And so that is a great segue into what I like to introduce, which is a study that was done a number of years ago now, but it was done by the MacArthur Foundation. And the one thing that this study wanted to figure out is why is it that some older adults live a long life and seemingly don't have any of the typical issues that come with old age, whereas other people just seem to go downhill? And they wanted to look at what is going on with those people who live well into their 80s and 90s without a lot of issues. What are they doing that is different from people who have a lot of ailments that come up? And so this next slide that I'm going to show you is a graph, which is the culmination of this study. So what you're seeing here on the horizontal axis is a person's age over time, and on the vertical axis is what's called your percent of functioning. So obviously when we are young, we're at top peak 100% functioning. And you can see that that solid blue line at the top goes for several decades. In our 20s and our 30s, even our 40s, we think that we're invincible. We don't think that anything is going to break us. But then you see, if you follow that solid blue line, it starts to go downhill. Now, what age that is debatable. Some people might say it's 50 or 60 or 70, but you see that that solid blue line is just it just continues to go downhill, and that is labeled as the usual course of aging, is kind of a slow decline until death. But then you see the dotted line that stays up there at 100% functioning until well into old age. And what this study is showing is what is needed for the term successful aging. And the study found that our aging journey is mostly determined by our lifestyle. Now, that statement should cause you to pause. Our aging journey is mostly determined by our lifestyle, because if that's true, if our aging journey is determined by our lifestyle, what does that mean? That means that a lot of this is within our control. In fact, after this study, Harvard University did a study that found that only 25% of our aging journey can be attributed to our genes. The other 75% is determined by our lifestyle. So what does that mean? Our lifestyle, what does that encompass? Well, this study found that there were 4 significant things that contributed to successful aging. The first is staying physically active and mentally stimulated throughout your lifestyle. Now, that's not a surprise for any of you. We hear this on the news. We read it online every single day. We hear it from our doctors. You just need to move more. You need to keep your brain engaged, all of that. So that's not a surprise. The second one was a surprise to me, and that is strong social engagement. Now, the thing is, we all saw the opposite of this during the pandemic. When everyone was isolated at home, we realized how important socialization was to our overall well-being. And this study found that to be true as well. The third thing is purpose and meaning in your life. Now, for some people, that could be, spirituality and their faith, but it also means things like having a reason to get up in the morning because you have things to do and people to see, and you've made commitments that you want to keep. So purpose and meaning is very important to successful aging. And then the fourth thing kind of ties this all together, and that is living in an environment that supports these 3 things is extremely important. Now, why is that one kind of the kicker? I say it's because for people who are trying to stay in their house as long as they can, and we have a lot of people that we talk to that say, I'm not leaving until they take me out feet first. You know, everybody thinks you're the king of your castle, and that's the way to remain independent is to stay in your house. The problem with that mindset is that over time, um, a lot of things fall away and it makes it very difficult to stay in your house. You need to, it starts with the home maintenance and that lawn care and the snow shoveling. Okay, so you hire somebody to do that. That's great. You hire somebody to do the maintenance inside the house. Maybe you hire someone to do the housekeeping, the house cleaning. But now perhaps you're not driving anymore. So now you need, you're relying on family or friends to take you to your appointments. And then if you're not able to get to the grocery store, you're relying on other people to help you with those things. So even though people think that they are living independently in their house, in many cases they're not by the time they are well into older age, because they're relying on a lot of other supportive services to help them remain in their own home. And so when this study says that where you live matters, it's because all of these things that they found are available to you in a different environment. And so on this next slide, we talk a lot about the dimensions of wellness in community living. And I think the term wellness can be very overused. And if I asked any of you if we were in person and I said, what does wellness mean to you? You'd probably say, well, it means, being healthy, being physically well. But if you look at these dimensions, these 6 different dimensions of wellness, physical wellness is only one factor. It is a factor, but a person can be well even in the face of disease. So what do these dimensions have to do with living in a community like Porter Hills Village? Well, when it comes to physical wellness, I was talking to Sandra, one of our sales counselors this morning, and I said, on a day like today, it's 2 degrees outside, it's snowy, you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want to go to MVP, but our residents just walk down the hall and can go swim in an 86-degree pool while it's, a blizzard outside. So the physical wellness aspects of what we offer in our community are right down the hall, right outside your door. You have access to exercise classes, exercise equipment, fitness programs, all of that. And the same holds true for all of these areas when we talk about the dimensions of wellness. So intellectual wellness and occupational, those are kind of interesting words. And we think of occupation as our job. And if you're retired, you think, well, what does that have to do with me? But it means that you're living with other people that have similar interests to you. So maybe you collect stamps, and you could probably find another resident or more than one in a community that also had a lifelong hobby of collecting stamps. Maybe you are a writer and you would love to be part of a writing group or a book club. These are all things that are a very important aspect of our residents' lives. And again, these opportunities are there for you. You don't have to seek them out. We talked about the importance of socialization. And sometimes the pushback that we get is, oh, I'm not a social butterfly. And that's why I don't want to live in a community, because everybody's going to be all up in my business. And, I don't want to go play cards or anything like that. Well, that's fine. In community life, nobody is going to make you do anything that you don't want to. It's up to you how you choose to spend your time. But here's the thing. I'm guessing that for some of you, especially during weather like we're having right now, you could go days without talking to another human being or seeing anyone, because you're not outside that much, so you don't see your neighbors. Whereas in community, even going down the hall to get your mail, you're going to see other residents. And not that they're going to be up in your business, but they're going to say, hey, Joe, how you doing? I heard you were sick last week. Are you better? again, going back to that study that the MacArthur Foundation did, those kind of little interactions are so vitally important as we age. And again, we found that out during the pandemic when we had none of that, when it was taken away. Spiritual and emotional components of what are offered in the community, again, things are right there for you, whether it's, Bible study or worship type services, or just support groups. Talk, if you've lost a spouse, to be able to talk with other residents that have gone through similar things. And that also, gets at the emotional wellness that our residents feel. I sometimes will, call somebody up that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I'll say, "Well, how are you doing?" And sometimes I get this answer: "Oh, we're hanging in there. We're surviving." And when we think about life and community, we think about thriving, not just surviving, but thriving, learning new things, meeting new people, having that zest for life that, it does wane, especially when there's aches and pains and there's, stuff in the house that's falling apart. Those are difficult things. And so having access to so many different opportunities in a community are just really, really important.
Hey, Amy, can I interject for a quick second?
You may.
So you know how for not you, the audience. So the audience, I said, I'd like to tell some stories about how people feel about moving to retirement communities and that kind of thing. And I remember I worked for an organization that we were building retirement communities, and we were moving someone in. And the lady, she deposited with her husband, but it wasn't built yet. And the husband had passed away before it opened. And she had said, my husband was a social butterfly. I am not. I am extremely private. I like to be by myself. I really like to cook and all these things. And I had said to her, I said, hey, why don't you just stay on the wait list, or stay on the deposit list. And when it opens, if you don't like it, you get all of your money back within a certain period of time. And it's not like the state rescission period, even at Porter Hills Village, there's a period of time that you can still move out and get 100% of your money back. So this lady said, okay, I'll do it. But the only way I'll do it is if you don't make me take a meal plan. And so for all of you that are new here, you don't know this yet. So I'll share it with you because it's exciting. We have restaurants on our campus. And part of your monthly service fee is that you get a number of dollars to spend at our restaurants on the campus. And so this lady just said, I love to cook, right? I told you that I love to cook, and I'm private. And okay. So I remember that I went to our CFO and I said to the CFO, I said, hey, I really just feel bad for this lady. Her husband passed away. She's by herself. They didn't have kids. That was another part. And I really think that she would benefit from living at the community, but she doesn't want meals. So the CFO, after a lot of hemming and hawing, said, all right, James, I won't charge her for meals, but this is it. I will never do this again for anyone else. And I said, all right. And at the time I said to myself, if they didn't want meals, like, what's the big deal, right? It's just, you figure it out. And so this lady moved this lady in, and I would say that she was there probably about 3 months. And I would see her here and there. She didn't come out much. And so one day I saw her and I said, hey, how are you doing? And she said, I'm okay. And I said, what do you mean just okay? Like, are you not enjoying living here? Or, is your apartment not what you thought it would be? Or how's the cooking in the kitchen and that kind of thing? And she said, well, the cooking is part of it's a problem. And I said, what do you mean it's a problem? That's what you wanted. And she said, well, I do like to play cards. And I don't talk a lot when I play cards, but I like to play cards. And I hear the other ladies talking that they're going to dinner and they're meeting all kinds of people, and that they don't have to cook and they don't have to clean and they don't have to go grocery shopping and all these other things. And she said, well, I'm sitting here, I'm going grocery shopping, I'm making my dinner, I'm cleaning up, I'm eating by myself, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I said, do you know how much trouble I went through to get meals taken out of your plan? And now you're asking me to go back. And I can tell you right now, the CFO is going to go, I told you so. And so here's someone, like, when you talk about like being private or whatever it is, This lady was probably one of the like quietest, wanted to be alone, wanted to cook people I ever met in my life. And here she wants to be part of that social atmosphere. And I just thought that was such an interesting way to look at this whole thing. And so, like, even when you said, Amy, the biggest surprise for you in your last slides was that social aspect. The social aspect is kind of what keeps you going, because you can read a book all day, but if you're not reading and taking in information versus taking it in, figuring out what to do with it and sharing it with someone else, sometimes a person's purpose is to share that information. I mean, you look at a teacher, their entire life is to share information with people and help other people learn. There's got to be something to that. So I'm glad that Amy changed slides here, because she's keeping me on the rein. Because when you give me a microphone,
mostly because these photos represent exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, agreed. And so, all right. So earlier we talked about if you have to shovel snow or you have to cut the grass, you would need to move, right? This would be an example of I want to move. So if that lady's husband, God bless him, because now that I think about this, if he didn't make her deposit to move to that retirement community, she would be in her home by herself, and she might think that she's happy, right? And I'm not trying to downplay that, because if you stay home, I'm not going to say you think you're happy, but you are happy. But there's more to the world. And I think I look at it as an example as if you're going for a walk, and Amy, you're an outdoorsy person, right? And so, and Amy lives in Holland. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, Amy. I won't give out your address or your phone or whatever. But Amy lives in Holland. We all know Holland is a beautiful place. And so you could be walking along the river there and you could see a bench. And Amy could say to herself, well, I don't need to sit. Like, I'm okay walking. I'm not tired. My legs don't hurt. I'm fine. I'm walking. I don't need to sit down. But when you look around, you may say, I want to sit down. I want to sit down and I want to look around and I want to see the views and watch the boats go by or whatever it is. It's just funny saying that when it's 0 degrees outside. But there is a very big difference between need and want. So do you need a retirement community? No. But when you realize everything that comes along with it, and this picture is a great depiction of that. We've got exercise classes and ladies sitting together having a glass of wine. Sorry, gentlemen, there's no beer there, but we could have beer. It's just not in that picture. You can go swimming and exercise in the pool. And even in that picture, I looked at it because I always like to see if I know who's in the picture. So I like pinched at it. And in that picture is the head of the balanced living program. So that's the person who does the exercises. And then also there's a lady in there that she is in charge of life enrichment, and she helps people figure out what activities they want to do and all those kinds of things. And you look at this and you just realize, like, these are things that I think people would want to do. We do have that bocce ball court. That is a real picture. Actually, these are all real pictures. These aren't even made up. And so that's where I think the need versus the want comes in. And so even with your theory, Amy, some people may say, yep, I see that slide down, but I don't care. I just want to watch TV. I love to watch TV, but I'll tell you, after a few days, I go, man, I just want to go out. I got to get out of here. And the whole COVID story that you told is very telling as well, because I think a lot of people during COVID said, yeah, this is just, I don't like this. Right. And even some people, they got used to being home alone or whatever it may be, that it took them a while to get back out. But once they got back out, I think they realized and said, wow, I really do want to be out, but I want to be out on my terms. And so this is your terms. If you want to woodwork, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. If you want to go to dinner, you can. If you don't want to go that day, you don't have to. If you want to just get something to go, you could order your meal, go and pick it up or take it back or have it delivered if you're not feeling well that day. You have the choice to do that. All right, I'm going to hand the microphone back over to Amy because I could do this all day. Oh, wait, I have to do this too, right? Is this my slide?
Well, so let me just set you up. So I would say many of our residents, after they've moved in, will tell us that, one of their most important reasons for moving is because of the continuum of care. And historically, our type of community has been called a continuing care retirement community. So take it away, James.
All right. So, yeah, historically, and by historically, I guess like when I started in this business in 1992, I guess, but some of you will probably laugh and call me a kid. But continuing care retirement communities is what they were called. People started calling, so let me back up. A continuing care retirement community, by definition, means that you have independent living, assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing all on one campus. That is the definition of it. And as the business started to evolve, people realized, well, I like the independent living portion, and I like the fact that I could get meals and housekeeping and that kind of thing, but I really don't care about long-term care. If I want to go somewhere later in life, I can. And so those are also good options. And so we started calling them life plan communities, because a life plan community could mean that it has independent living and assisted living, but doesn't have skilled nursing. But in some states, Michigan is one of them, you can actually give a very high level of care in assisted living where a lot of people never go to skilled nursing. And skilled nursing essentially means that you have a very difficult time with mobilization, ambulatory. You may not be able to transfer from a wheelchair to a bed or a wheelchair to a commode or things like that. You need help. That's really kind of skilled nursing. Assisted living is you get a little bit of help in the morning, maybe a little bit of help with meals and a little bit of help at night. But for the most part, you're kind of on your own for the day. And so a lot of people feel like, or I guess don't feel like, that fits their needs. And so that's where the life plan community came in. And, you know, people make these decisions on their own according to, well, like Amy said, you know, there's part of your aging process is genetics. And so, you know, there's things like bad knees or Alzheimer's or things like that that may slide you into a little bit of a different thinking path because you know you're going to need that at some point. But again, like, what makes something that you want? And so we wanted to share that with you a little bit, that we try to strive, and I think retirement communities in general, I won't just say it's us, it's self-serving. That's the word I was looking for, Amy. Not self-selling, self-serving. That people do look at retirement communities and say, you know, like, how do we just make independent living something that people want to do versus need to do?
And so that leads us into, you know, what are you getting when you move to a life plan community? And again, this is specific for Porter Hills Village. So right at the top of the list is that continuum of care. Many of our residents would say that's why they chose to move in, was to have that assurance that if and when things changed for them or their spouse, they knew where they would be taken care of and who would be caring for them. And again, in our third of this series, we're going to really go into depth about that. Maintenance-free lifestyle is another thing, and we've already talked about that. But when you are a resident at Porter Hills Village, all maintenance is taken care of for you, as well as housekeeping services. And then we talked just briefly about, you know, the monthly service fee, and James mentioned the dining allowance, but your utilities are all covered in that, and that includes cable TV and Wi-Fi. All the wellness and fitness classes, the educational things, the social opportunities, all of that is part of your monthly service fee. And so we really talk about this as being an all-inclusive environment and an all-inclusive lifestyle. And then there are lots of different amenities. So the picture that you see is called our rooftop garden. This is actually over by our Garden East apartments. And underneath this rooftop garden is the underground parking garage. And so up here is where that bocce court is. It's also, there's a putting green there and the gazebo with a fireplace and a gas grill. So sometimes people, you know, think about moving into an apartment and they think, oh, there's no way that I could live in such a small space coming from a big home. But the reality is that the list on that you see on the screen, all of those what could be called common spaces are an extension of your home. And so if you want to go out in this rooftop garden in the warm weather months, you don't have to ask permission from anybody. This is part of your home. You know, the library, the coffee shop, we have card rooms, you know, those are places that you can go anytime. And there are scheduled things going on in those spaces, but there are also just, you know, times when residents just sit down together and, you know, start talking. So all of this is part of and makes up the lifestyle of living at Porter Hills Village. Go ahead, James. So talking about the continuum of care, that we define that a little bit differently than some other communities in the Grand Rapids area. One of the very unique things that we have is a team member called our transition coordinator. And so this person, her responsibility is to work with our independent living residents to help them through any, you know, health issues or medical issues that they're having, meaning she is there to be a resource for you. So whether that is helping you to make decisions about, you know, what is needed here, how can we keep you independent as long as possible? Maybe private duty home care needs to be brought in, and she can help you with those arrangements. Maybe it does mean a move to a higher level of care, but then her role is to really assist you and your family with that decision and making that move. And she becomes an advocate for you and what your needs are, and provides support all the way through. And then, yeah, James.
Sorry, I wanted to interject here for a second. One of the things that I really like about the transitions coordinator, Amy, is there's so many times, you'll laugh when I tell you this, Amy, because Amy's heard this before, where my mom will call and say, my mom calls me Jimmy, what happens, like if I need knee surgery, or I have a friend that needs knee surgery, like what do you do? And I know my mom is asking me because she has a friend that needs it. She doesn't know what to do. I work in the business. So she's like, hey, what do you do here? What I love with the transitions coordinator is it's not one of those relationships where it's like, okay, you need me now I'll talk to you. This is one of those like, hey, I'm going to need knee surgery. And the doctor says that I'm going to need some rehab and I'm going to need this and I'm going to need this. What can you tell me about that? And this transition coordinator goes, yeah, talk about this every day. This is what you're going to do. And you tell me when you have surgery, and then we do this, and then we do this, and we do this. And that person helps them kind of like figure out what to do. Where like my mom is calling me, I kind of know, and I work in the business, but how many of you that are out here on this communication right now that say, man, if I had to get knee surgery or hip surgery, my kids don't know anything about that. So who are you going to call? And so that's where I really like this transitions coordinator, because it's not just, you know, like, okay, it's time to move. This is more of like a friend to say, hey, what am I supposed to be doing here?
Yep. And then as a resident of a life plan community, you do have priority access to those higher levels of care if and when you need it. So on our campus that we have assisted living, we also have something called respite care. So with James' example of a knee replacement or a hip replacement, you know, sometimes you need rehab after that, but insurance wants you out of there remarkably fast. And sometimes our residents just don't feel strong enough. They're not confident yet in their mobility to go back to their independent living apartment. So we have something called respite care. They can come into a fully furnished apartment in assisted living for just a short-term stay while you get stronger, because you're going to go back into your independent living dwelling. And the transition coordinator is coordinating all of that. We also have memory care on our campus, and we have skilled nursing on our Porter Hills Village campus. And then we also have skilled nursing on the Cook Valley campus. and that is called our greenhouse homes. So again, in our third of this series, we're going to go into depth about those levels of care. What does that mean? How much do they cost? All of that. We're not going to do that today. And so, James, why would our audience want to move? We've talked about a lot of things today.
Well, and I hope that the audience has learned that it's not a need to move, that it's a want to move. And I really hope that today the audience at least learned that this is not your parents' retirement community, which actually I take offense to that comment now because I probably moved their parents into retirement communities and it wasn't like that then either. It's your grandparents' retirement community where, you know, it's just a bunch of older people sitting together and playing bingo or knitting or, you know, doing something that's kind of like considered to be a menial task. You know, this is living life to its fullest. There are people that, you know, golfing to canasta. What is the game? Mahjong? Is that the game that the residents play? And man, this
and
is like
hand and foot.
Yeah, this is like a serious Mahjong group here, you know. But like that's the kind of thing where I think people have just a disassociated vision of what retirement community living is like versus what it really is. And I hope that today people got a little taste of that people move because they want to. They don't move because they have to.
Yep. And so now we want to open it up to questions. So I think, so Riley is in the background. She's going to tell us what questions have already come in, but feel free to type in that Q&A tab any questions that you have.
Yep, so we had a couple and it said, so I can answer the first one. Do we have to sign up for the next 2 sessions? So yes, you do. I kind of answered one. It was a follow-up one. How do I sign up for the next 2 sessions? You sign up the same way you did this one. So I took care of the follow-up question. I'll sign you up later today, but yes, just sign up on our website or call that number on the postcard, and that call will come to me and I just sign you up using your email, and I can do that for you. And then it looks like some people answered you, James, at the beginning. Some people said they are new to our community, one visit to Porter Hills Village. Someone asked, is there a wait list? Oh, sorry, go ahead,
So
James.
to you people that are new, no, you're okay. To you people that are new, and I hate that saying "you people." Remember, like your mom used to say, like, "Will you people just do this to me?" And it was like J.C. Penney, you know. My mom would yell at the J.C. Penney people if she didn't get her price right. I'm sure everybody's used to that, right? But I think it's important that you took the first step to looking into this. A lot of people are just so afraid of it that we're going to try to talk you into it or make a decision that you don't want to do or whatever it is. There's just a lot of fear out there. And so I'm just really proud of the people that made the decision to think about this and to listen. I think that's a big step in doing this. And so, sorry, Riley, but I just wanted to tell people, like, it's important to learn about what else is out there. Mm-hmm. It's just important to learn about what else is out there. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And then we had someone ask, is there a wait list for assisted living?
Okay, so I can answer that question. So just first, I'm going to answer about wait lists in general. We definitely have waiting lists, but it depends on what you are interested in and what your time frame is. So some waiting lists are longer than others. In some cases, there is no waiting list. Specifically for assisted living, that's an interesting question about a waiting list for assisted living, because just because of the nature of assisted living, which it's typically need-based. And this goes back to what James was saying earlier, is that, you know, when people are considering moving to independent living, it's not usually need-based. It's that you want to make that move. Whereas when people are looking at assisted living, it's because they need to move. They need help. They're not able to stay home anymore. And because of that, it's not always something that you're planning far in the future. Oh, 6 months from now, I'm going to need assisted living, or a year from now, I'm going to need assisted living. None of you would probably ever say that. And so because of that, we don't really have a waiting list for assisted living. If we do, I will tell you it's because someone wants a specific type of apartment, because we have different sizes of apartment. So somebody might say, well, I have to have this particular size apartment. So I want to go on the waiting list for when that becomes available.
Mhm.
If you are a resident of Porter Hills Village in independent living and the need arises for assisted living, the priority access means you trump everybody else. You go to the top of the list over anybody who doesn't live at our community. And so when residents live in our community, you're already on the list, if you will, for assisted living when you need it.
Mhm.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, someone said in the old days were property taxes involved?
Okay, so property taxes are still a part for our residents because Porter Hills Village has to pay property tax. We are in Grand Rapids Township. We pay property tax. And so we prorate the taxes for each resident based on the size of their dwelling. So you are only paying property tax on the size of your apartment or your townhome. You're not paying a portion of the property tax for the common spaces or the grounds or anything like that. And so for the majority of people who move to Porter Hills Village, they find that the property tax that they pay is far less than what you are currently paying in your own home. But property taxes are not rolled into the monthly service fee, so they are separated out. And when we meet individually with people, we can tell you approximately what the taxes would be for whatever dwelling you are interested in. And that's independent living only.
Okay. If I need memory care, would I have equal access to the greenhouse community as the folks at Cook campus?
That's an excellent question. And the answer is yes. If we have a resident at Porter Hills Village who is interested in being at the greenhouse homes, which is on the Cook Valley campus, you are a resident. It doesn't matter what campus you live on, you have priority access. Absolutely. Great question.
That is a good question.
Okay,
I'm happy that people know what the greenhouse homes is too, because
yeah, me too.
In marketing, when you say it's the best kept secret, just the word secret in marketing is counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's not good.
But it's only so big. And so the fact that somebody knows about it is really nice. So anybody that's on here that doesn't know about it, you got to talk to us and figure out what it is. Got to learn about it.
Mm-hmm. Someone said, is there a waiting list for independent living?
So again, in some cases, yes, we have waiting lists, and it depends on the type of dwelling and the location. Some of our waiting lists are longer than others. Here's the thing that I will say about waiting lists. First of all, I don't like to have rules with a waiting list. So we don't, say 3 strikes and you're out, nothing like that. We don't drop you to the bottom. What we as sales counselors want to know is, what is your time frame? What are you thinking? Because if you say that your goal is to move to Porter Hills Village in the next year, there's a very good chance that that could happen. But we have a lot of people on our waiting list, I have to say, who it's just a box that they checked. And honestly, some people just get on a waiting list so they can tell their kids to leave them alone. Stop talking to me about moving. I'm on the waiting list at Porter Hills Village, so I'm all taken care of. They have no intention of ever moving. So we try to really have conversations with you. And when I say we, I'm going to flip to this next slide. Here's the independent living counselors. We try to have conversations with you about what your time frame is. What are you looking for? When would you like to move? And then we work very hard to make that happen. So sometimes people are very specific about what they want their view to be. And then that narrows your opportunity. So it's going to take longer then, you know, if
The
you
o-
say, well, I have to have a golf course view. Well, okay, then that might take longer than a year, you know?
Yeah, the one thing I would like to help there with, Amy, is there are people that we talk to that say, "Yep, I'm moving to Porter Hills. Did you put a wait list deposit down?" No, but I know that's where I'm going. And we've gotten calls from folks that say, "Okay, we've had an emergency. I need to move." Right? And when you call like that, yeah, we don't have openings. We are typically, I won't say 100% reserved or 100% sold out, because there's, some times where we're refurbing an apartment or whatever it may be. But for the most part, all of our apartments are spoken for. I would call it that. And so if someone calls and says, "Hey, I want to move," even if we did our darndest and you took the first apartment that became available, it might take a year. So you have to start planning this. And like Amy said, it's good for us to know, what type of exposure do you want? What type is being on the golf course important, or is being on the rooftop garden important? Like what are the things that really, that you would walk into an apartment and go, "I want that, not that I need that." And so we keep in touch with you. And I think that's really an important piece is, we work with you as much as possible, but last minute stuff is really, really hard. And even for
Really
assisted
tough.
living and memory care, skilled nursing is also really tough. That these are very need driven types of decisions. And, I have people call me all the time, not even going to lie. They call me and say, "Hey, my dad's in the hospital. He's getting discharged in the next 2 days. Can you help him get in?" And there's times where I'd go, "I really wish I could. I just can't. We don't have anything in 2 days." Has your dad ever been here before? Have you looked at a wait list for assisted living or memory care or whatever it may be? And this is, again, goes to the point where if you're a resident, you have priority access to those. You already know where you're going to go. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people that stay home, like, again, I don't have anything against people that stay home, but you have to have a plan. And maybe that plan is like, "Hey, if I need care, I'm going to Porter Hills Village," or whatever it may be.
Okay, we have one more question that just came in. Can I stay at Porter Hills to try it out?
Oh, that's an interesting question. We do have guest suites available, and sometimes that is an option. I always caution people though, because it's hard to get a sense of what life is really like if you're just in a guest suite, especially if you're just there like for a weekend or for one night. It doesn't give you a true picture. But we definitely agree that, as you are considering which community you want to move to, it is important, that you come and visit multiple times. We don't ever expect anyone to come one time and say, "Yeah, this is it," and it's important to meet the residents. And we have a variety of options for how you can do that. And we're happy to make those arrangements. So thank you for that question. All right, we are at 12 o'clock. We've taken up enough of your time. We certainly appreciate you being with us today, and we would love to have you join us for the next two sessions. The next one is February 12. The last one is on February 27. For James and I, thank you so much for being with us today. Take care.
Thank you.